If you're a retail bank, you pretty much have to pursue an omni-channel strategy to both win customers as well as to keep the customers you've got, because they're looking for greater flexibility and they're looking for greater choice in how they interact with you as a financial institution. Now, this means that your IT operations and your channel managers are actually under a lot of pressure. They've got to deliver and manage transactions that are originating from a growing variety of channels, many of them self-service, but also that are winding through a growing number of back-end systems and services. And so in this demonstration, I'm going to show you how INETCO Insight can help both manage multiple channels, for example, branch tellers, ATMs, kiosks, online and mobile banking, and help you guarantee seamless service delivery for your customers, but also how you can harness the big data that's created by all these interactions to become more operationally efficient and to understand how better to serve that new omni-channel customer. Insight provides a complete north-south performance view across business, application, and network domains for every transaction. It provides a correlated east-to-west view of the transactions as they hop from component to component in a complex multi-channel banking environment. It provides out-of-the-box support for common financial protocols and applications. The product is also highly secure. Sensitive financial information is either masked, truncated, or dropped entirely before it's ever presented in the product, ensuring that you can remain PCI compliant while getting detailed visibility into the transactions flowing through your environment. Plus, it deploys without agents or code changes, so you can get started quickly and deploy regardless of what platforms your applications are built on. Here's a powerful view of how your various channels or interaction points are performing. The nice thing about Insight is that you can pull together a common view of all of these channels onto a single page and get an instant picture of performance and user experience in terms of response times and failures. But also the chances are that you're using many of the same core banking transactions across channels. So in other words, when you check a balance, it's the same transaction whether it originates at an ATM, from mobile, or in the branch. It may be exposed as a web service. With Insight, you can monitor the health of these transactions regardless of which channel they're accessed through, so you can quickly identify issues that may ripple across channels. Now, the nice thing here is that you can also drill down to get a view into the end-to-end transactions occurring at any point in time, or you can go back in time to get more context and analyze the issue in more depth. INETCO Insight can also be configured to fire alerts, notifying you of anomalies, slowdowns, failures, or changes in transaction performance. And you can alert on any aspect of the transaction, from individual fields or response codes or bin ranges or performance characteristics, dollar amounts, you name it, you can construct an alert based on this. So you can begin to look at things like a card that's picked up because there's an instruction not to honor that card. Could be at point of sale, could be at ATM. You may be looking for a high decline rate, which could indicate you're having problems with a particular issuer or processor. You may be looking for a slow web service, which actually may impact the performance of multiple channels. Or you may be looking for something like a slow mobile transaction, which may be disappointing your user. So everything from user experience to very technical characteristics of a transaction can be alerted upon using INETCO Insight. You can quickly find problem transactions in the transaction view using filters. For instance, I've created a filter here that looks for transactions with errors, kind of a quality measurement. If I apply this, I can pick up a particular transaction that was approved, but I can see some interesting things about this transaction by drilling down into it. At a very technical level here, I can see, for instance, a request went out, it was acknowledged, the response came back, but in this case, this server never acknowledged the request. Now, this puts the banking host in an unusual position of not knowing whether the transaction was actually completed successfully. Could cause it to retry, could cause one side or the other to fall into an unusual condition. In other cases here, we can see a more egregious problem with a transaction, where here we actually have a timeout, where this particular transaction was attempted twice by the web banking server into the host. Both times it didn't receive a response. It eventually timed out, and the transaction in this case actually failed. So you can imagine you've got a fairly unhappy consumer at the end of the line in this particular case. Finally, INETCO Insight can tell you about both the technical and the business performance of key services by performing analytics on the transactions that it monitors. So here, for instance, we're looking at errors, failures, and slow transactions across different types, fairly technical measurements. But we could also be using this to look at things like high dollar amount transactions, or what the transaction volume looks like on ATMs where we've dropped the service fees as an experiment in a marketing campaign. And you can get real-time feedback on all these different attributes. And I can see this both in real time as well as being able to drag back in history and see errors, failures, and slow transactions for my online transfer service. In summary, INETCO Insight allows you to see into transaction performance across all your channels and to do it from a single platform. So you can see your consumer's experience regardless of which channel they choose to interact with you, and you can reduce your transaction failures by up to 25%. You can also isolate performance problems up to 75% faster, and you can leverage a single monitoring investment across channels, applications, and teams.